Hello and welcome to another movie review from MBE. We'd just like to thank you once again for joining us here on our YouTube channel and of course our Twitch stream here on this Friday night. And that can mean only one thing here at Movie Burner Entertainment. We are doing a movie review and we are doing the one that you chose, guys. It's Thalapathi, and this was made in 1991, 30 years ago.
Yes.
With a running time of 2 hours and 37 minutes. And this is directed by Mani Ratnam and stars the great Rajinikanth and Mammootty and a whole host of other stars in this, which we will get into when we're talking about.
Stephen
we're talking about performances. I'm sure we'll have our own choices. But before I pass it over to you, John, we must warn the viewers that Ruth, John and myself have all watched different versions of this film. So we'll all have different perspectives. Certainly myself, because I think I watched the worst version ever. But we'll get into that. I'll hand it over to you now, John, and you
Steve,
can take us through this review experience.
I can't see a thing, so this shall be interesting. I've got a moonlight right in front of me, and I'm going to bring this up. There you go. By sheer luck, I have pressed the right thing. We'll get this out the way first. It's a rating system. I'll try and condense it. F is terrible. Pretty self-explanatory. A terrible movie. Hopefully we never encounter an F-level movie and we're time doing this. D- through plus is average. It's an average experience. It's neither bad, it's neither terrible, it's just average. It resides in a purgatory between good and terrible. C- through plus is good. Differing degrees of good depending on where it falls on the scale. It's good. A lot of good movies will come in here. A lot of MCU movies that I had a fun time watching at the theatre and stuff like that will slide in here. B- through plus is excellent. It's an excellent movie. At the top end of this scale, for just a little bit of context, my all-time favourite movie, Cool Hand Luke, slides in here. So excellent movies. A, reserved for perfection. Only the very, very best movies ever crafted will have the pleasure of sliding into that A category. But look, that's how we rate the movies, so keep that in mind as we get to the end of it, and you will find out how we rate Thalapathi, or Thalapathi, as I was watching the Hindi version. I was warned it was a bit more abrasive, a bit harsher. And I tried my best, Ruth. I did, to use the visuals of the Tamil version and the audio and subtitles of the audio of the Tamil version and the subtitles of the Hindi. Wasn't working out, man. There was too many adverts coming up, and I'm like, you know what? We can't continue with this. I'll be here for weeks. I've not got weeks, so I get right into the Hindi version, and look, it was fine. I enjoyed it for what it was. But wait, man, let's get right into it. Introduction of Did All That Shite. What is your thoughts on the story? The writing, the character development, the way it ebbed and flowed, themes explored, and the ending. For me, I'm going to go in first here and just give my thoughts, because I can't go on a bit, so I'm going to get mine's out the way first. For me, I'm not going to lie that I have issues with some of the technical aspects in this movie. As I expected, it's a 30-year-old movie, and look, I was warned by Ruth and various other people, to be fair, in the community, that in that time, South Indian movies weren't being consumed by a wider audience. They were just specifically for the local audience, and they didn't get as much money, they didn't get as much funding, they didn't have big budgets, so I was able to overlook the technical stuff. We spoke about it last week after our review. If you went through sort of mindset that I like to have going into this. Look away from some of the glaring issues and just focus on the story, focus on the acting, focus on what they're doing with the characters. And for me, they do a good job with that. I quite liked the story about this guy being discarded, if you'd like trash at the start. He gets left on the train, he feels very discontented, it hurts and follows him through his entire life into his adulthood, and he's a very unhappy man. He goes into a life of crime, he finds a being, a purpose with this gangster figure. It becomes a brother, and he's a bit of a bad guy. And then of course all sort of shenanigans go on. We get good people coming in trying to do the right thing, he clashes with them, it all gets tangled, it becomes complicated, if you'd like. I liked it, man. I liked the way it was written. I thought it was pretty decent. There was points where I was getting lost, I'm not going to lie, but I quickly just found myself again. That was absolutely fine. I liked the writing. I thought the character development was there. For Surya in particular, he's a dark devil of a character. He's chopping people's arms off, he's slashing them up, he's beating them, and then he really does warm at the end, and he becomes a bit, well, not a good man, but he becomes a better man, if you'd like, with the introduction of his mother again and this brother Arjun he didn't know he had. I liked the way it was written, I liked the character development. I thought it flowed alright. It was a 2.5 hour movie. I watched it in 2 sittings. In truth, I could have watched it in 1 sitting, but I had a show to do that night, so I couldn't finish it in 1 sitting. I've got themes I'm going to get into, but I'm going to let you in first before I actually get into the themes, because I could sit here and talk for 10 minutes, man. I like the sound of my own voice. Ruth, what was your thoughts on the story? Was there any standout aspects of this story? The writing, the way the characters were developed, the way it flowed? And have you got any thoughts on themes that were explored in this movie? Because I've got a small paragraph on themes I think were explored, and I'd be intrigued to see if they match your thoughts in terms of themes explored.
Yeah, I mean, the director intended the movie plot is like a subtle adaptation of the epic Hindu epic, the Mahabharata.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually based a little bit on the storyline of the Mahabharata, because he didn't want it to be like too strong, the correlation, but he had like subtle hints of it in between, with Surya kind of like representing Karna from the epic, and what do you call that? Yeah, so I mean, like they had a lot of correlation to that. So people who know the Mahabharata will be aware of the link with the characters. So yeah, for me, I think I like the central. I love the fact that the whole movie, right? It was basically for me like 4 love stories, because it was that loving relationship of friendship, the beautiful friendship between the two main characters, and then there was the beautiful love story that you have for between a mother and a child, you know, the yearning of the child for the mother, and the mother, you know, for the child as well.
Yeah.
I like the fact that there was a very quietly told, unfulfilled, tragic love story, you know, between Shobana's character and you know, Rajini's character. I like also the fact that there's another love story emerging, you know, like with potential for growth between Padma and Surya, you know, later part. So I love the fact that all these love stories were kind of interwoven into the main thing, was, you know, about the police being after them, and, you know, they fighting back and trying to protect the people, and having to also face off against the other antagonist gang as well. Yeah. So I mean, in the midst of all that, the love stories were very well woven, I think, into the entire fabric of the movie. So I really liked the whole thing in that sense. Yeah.
Steve, what's your thoughts on the story, man, on the writing, character development? Did you was there any notable themes springing out to you?
Yeah,
when you watched this movie?
In one word, John, loyalty was a big part in this film.
Absolutely.
Character of Surya was very intriguing to me and well written, and development from the beginning of when we're introduced to the character to the very end, you can see the development in his compassion, and his loyalty stays throughout, you know, which was very commendable, I felt, and they sticked with that all the way through. The other thing I liked about the Surya character was that justification in his actions. I felt, I'm not saying some of the violence in it was justified, I'm not advocating that for a minute. What I mean is his perspective in life was justified because
he's a morally righteous person, Stephen.
Yeah, I think so, and I think you know, I think it was very important to establish of, you know, where this baby, how it became, you know, this orphan, and I think that whole sequence at the very beginning was very important for narration and cutting down on a lot of sort of heavy dialogue, and
important for theme as well, because that theme rears its head again and again.
Yeah, it definitely does,
that
and I think
number.
You know, he's misplaced in a sort of in a world that it only understands one half of the world, and that's the sort of gritty and dark side of it. And I think his sort of link up with the Mammootty character is more relatable for this character, you know, and he understands where he's coming from. I love the way it was actually set up for those two. I thought at first it was a missed trick when it looked like they were going to be facing off for the movie.
Stephen, I thought that as well.
And I thought, oh, this is going to be really interesting, you know. And then I think within about 20-25 minutes into the film, they'd resolved their differences. I'm like, that's interesting. Where are they going to go with this? But you know, that's the sort of the position. It was perfect for this movie, I think, because then we could see the redemptive sort of tones for the Surya character throughout the rest of the duration of the film as well. And as Ruth said, establishing those relationships between Surya and Devaraj, and his natural mother, his adopted mother as well. It was all very interesting.
Love interest, one forced, one wanted.
Yeah, and then obviously we can't forget Arjun as well, his stepbrother, which I thought added a bit of complexity to the situation as well. I honestly felt, I don't know if they're going to go down the road of establishing those two characters meeting each other and realising who they are to each other. I wasn't sure if they were going to go down that road, and they wouldn't realise it till it was too late, where one was killed or something like that. I thought, how tragic would that be? I'm glad they didn't, though.
I thought Surya would die in this.
So did I thought he was going to sacrifice himself.
And I tell you, that's actually a criticism for me.
Yeah.
I think they missed an opportunity.
Yeah.
If they killed him off.
It's interesting that you say that, because when I said that the comparison with the Mahabharata, right? In the Mahabharata, the Karnan, who Surya's kind of fashioned after, actually does die. So I think everybody expected for Surya to die, or that maybe there were rumors that maybe Mani Ratnam wanted Surya to die and then maybe changed his mind later or whatever. But that was not the case. Mani Ratnam said that he wanted Surya to live because he felt that it would be too tragic and too sad for him to have lost everything in life and then at the end to also lose the son. He wanted to end it with a little bit of a hope. Yeah. Yeah.
You can understand it. Yeah, you can certainly. It would have been dark to have this guy have everything thrown at him as a baby, not even aware of his surroundings, really. To have some semblance of family with this Devaraj character that really pinned him. I don't know, some semblance of normality. This was the family he had. This was the thing that he sort of anchored himself into, even if it was violence and doing his bidding. Because we got that amazing sequence where they're singing. Well, in my version it was Thalapathi, but I imagine in the Tamil version it would have been Thalapathi. They're kind of singing about him being the general to Devaraj. He goes out and he does his bidding. He hits people, he beats them up, he slashes, he kills. He's the general for Devaraj. The fact that they sort of I can't even speak, it's early on, we're about to do a snake bite later on, it'll get worse as we go on, believe me. Lynch-pinned himself to this gangster character. For me, that was him substituting his family that he never had. And just the fact that he had that, if he'd have lost that after finding his mother, then this stepbrother, half-brother, it would have been a tragedy. It would have been a step too far, I think, too dark. And I had criticisms about it, but look, I liked the ending. But look, for me, man, I'm going to get into my thoughts. I'll quickly go to me, because we don't use these wide shots anywhere near enough. We're going to use them. I had a couple of thoughts on themes explored, and I'd be intrigued to see if you share my thoughts. Obviously, the romance, there's a sort of undercurrent of romance in this movie. Incidentally, hello to the people coming in. I do see you. I can't really see it from here. I seen you saying thank you for the review. Stevens, yeah, he's dealt with it, so we'll not bog it down. We'll try and get this review condensed. We'll try to get under 40 minutes. Casteism for me was in there. There was an issue of casteism. He goes and tries to get married to this girl, and look, man, they just flat out refuse to marry him. He doesn't think he's good enough for his daughter, and there's that whole issue. She'll not find a better man, Devaraj says. Casteism, family structure, and the lack of for Surya in this. And then also you see the contrast to Arjun. He's a learned man, he's educated, he's the good to the bad, the yin to the yang. Surya, Arjun, one had the mother and the father and the settled family structure. Surya didn't, and I think that also focuses on that. We focus on that moving through the movie. The sort of the good, the bad, what could have been for Surya. He could have been a good man. He could have been like Arjun, but it just wasn't to be. He had a bad start to life in a sense. And then also matriarchal power. I've says matriarchal, the power of a good mother, and the lack thereof, that haunts Surya in this movie. He keeps getting asked, what's your father's name, what's your mother's name? I don't know, she discarded me. He gets quite irate at points when he's continually asked who his mother was and he doesn't have an answer. It haunts him throughout the movie. So I thought matriarchal presence, power, whatever, was quite a big theme. And then just corruption, violence, all sorts, loyalty. There's lots going on in there, lots of strong themes explored, and I like that, man. I like watching movies and it's not just superficial, you're just glued to the action. It's soulless, because you can go and watch a Jason Statham movie and get that. Sometimes he does good movies as well, by the way. I watched a good one the other night, Guy Ritchie, the Man of Wrath of Man, whatever it was. A lot of the times it's sort of soulless action. I like a movie that's got profound themes getting explored to sort of accentuate what's going on in a visual element, if you like. But look, man, that was a story. The way I liked the story, I thought it was well written. They developed the characters pretty nicely. Not too much though. You don't want too much development. That means you're lacking at the start of the movie. You need them to be rounded characters when you see them, and then you don't have to develop them as much.
That's the thing about Surya, John, was you talk about rounded characters.
Yeah.
The guy was, as we like to say here in Scotland, a wrongian in terms of the path he chose. But I like when they do that with anti-heroes or darkened characters where they chose this path, but there's a justification for it. They don't see themselves as the bad guy, and you see that sort of confrontation between him and Arjun. You know, I don't know if maybe the translation was the same in your version, guys, but there was a line, a bit of dialogue where they said we're not that much different, kind of thing was going on. You know.
Yeah, they're clashing at the start, but by the end, when he realises, sorry, Ruth, on you go.
No. You are right in the sense that he does draw the comparison that the only difference between both of them is that Arjun does stuff under the law, and he is doing stuff to help people, you know, without, you know, being having a position that is given by the government or anything like that. Yeah.
That's why I says he's righteous. He's a righteous character. He wants to dish out justice, and sometimes being bogged down in a court, it dragging on for weeks, months. That doesn't help the person who's been aggrieved. So he wants to go out and give instant karma, and he does it quite a few times, and none more so than when you see the 15-year-old girl. The news that she's dead, she's hanged herself, she's been kept in jail overnight, and he goes out and he beats the shit out of this guy initially because I think he brings up his mother. He goes out and does him again, and I think he chops his arm off because I think we see him at some point. He's trying to rat on Surya, and he's missing an arm because there's a great shot of him standing, and he catches a machete and he just poof. And look, that's... we'll get into standout moments just now. For me, I loved the violence in this movie. And I thought it was pretty authentic, the way they used it. For them not to have the budget. There's a scene at the end when they're rioting where he goes into a house or a building, a government building, whatever it is, maybe even a prison, and he shoots the glass, he shoots the guy's fingers, he shoots him in the chest, he shoots him right in the head. I loved it, man. I loved the violence. And the fighting, we start off with a fight sequence that kicks off this relationship between Devaraj and Surya. You think they're going to want to kill each other. Turns out they're like tight as tight can be, brothers from other mothers, if you'd like. Fight sequence goes on for about 5-10 minutes, and it's very authentic. It reminded me of John Wayne, the Quiet Man. They're just battering the absolute shit out of each other, but it's not over the top. I thought the fighting in this was pretty grounded. It's the kind of thing you'd see in Parkhead, Steve, in East End of Glasgow.
It's realistic.
On a Saturday night. They're not really superhero-like. It's pretty.
Sometimes fight
real
scenes in films are too over choreographed, and I hate that. I can't stand it. It's just not natural. There's nothing natural about it, you know.
Yeah. Well, for me,
it's actually true because Maniratnam, when he came onto the scene, he was a very innovative director in the sense that he tried new stuff, and people were very interested in watching his movies because of one main thing that he did in his movies, which was very different and very bold, I think, at that time, was to be very natural in the way he portrayed the characters. You know, even the women in the movies, there were like rumors where he had actually asked different, like all his movies, you know, he had actually asked actresses to go and wash their face and then come back, you know, with very minimalistic, like hardly any makeup on the face, because he wanted a very natural, believable look for everyone, you know, and he has that in a lot of his movies. It has that tone, and the same with the fighting and everything. He tries to make it as naturally occurring as possible without too much of that over the top thing, which really made him a very interesting director, and a bold move at the period of time where, you know, people are so used to that over the top kind of fighting, and then here you have a very grounded kind of film. I like that. That was a standout for me too. Standout points I make. The first fight, really enjoyed it. Shows you this guy can handle himself, but he's not superhero. He takes hits, he can get hit himself, so he's not infallible, and that's important as you go through the movie, because he goes in dangerous situations where there's guys trying to take him out. He's putting himself into the firing line, and if you set that precedent early on in the movie that this guy can take hits, you're actually worrying for him when he gets put into danger. Whereas look, I love Thalapathi, but you go into some of his movies, man, and you know he's not going to die. There's Saka, he walks into the guy's house, the sort of political rival, he just lays the law down, he hits someone with an axe,
wipes the whole room out. I'm like, this guy's untouchable. I like that, because that's what he's all about. He's an action hero. It's like Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is untouchable in Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Jason Statham's and your Vin Diesels and your Dwayne Johnsons, they're untouchable in your Fast and Furious and in your Hobbs and Shaw. Different sort of genres. But I like the grounded and I like the sort of fantasy superhero stuff. So it was nice to see that. It's the first time I think I've seen that probably in an Indian movie, a South Indian movie, where you've got sort of human level fighting that they can take hits. And what that does for the character moving forward, he puts himself in some dangerous situations. For me, Rajinikanth's character, Surya, man, stand out. Acting performance, standout character. We'll speak about the character first though, because we'll get into performances later. I thought the character of Surya was the absolute heart and soul of this movie. It was all about him. It's called Thalapathi, that's his character's nickname in it, that's his character. Follows his story, he gets abandoned, his journey, finding his mother again, the emotion in that scene, man. When he's seen his mother for the first time, the sunrise, the conversations, absolutely stunning, man. From the mother, the actor, and from Rajinikanth, the way they're acting it, little flickers of emotion. Not just that as well though, there's scenes where he's kind of standing against a wall, and I think it's just after he's been married, he's to protect this woman, and I think it's a connection of Devaraj. And I think I've got the actual quote, I'm sure I have. I can't remember what he says. I think he says, do you want to know what I think when I put I thought as I put that is it bindi you call it, Ruth, incident? Is that what the thing is, the forehead thing? Yeah. When I put the bindi on your forehead, he says, I thought I'm a sinner, I'm just a protector of this house, I'll protect you and your daughter, nothing more. And he's standing against the wall, and the performance, you can see the pain in his face. He doesn't want to be with this woman, he's doing it out of loyalty to Devaraj. He wants to be with the other woman he can't be with, and you see that in his face, the performance. So for me, Surya was a real standout in this. And Stephen, you says it, this could be the case for a lot of movies, to be fair. If you take out the star man out of any movie, then the movie's probably not as watchable. But if you take Surya, you take Rajinikanth out of this movie, replace him with a lesser actor, forget about it, man. This movie falls. Forget about it. This movie is Rajinikanth. And that's not to do down the other actors, because I liked Mammootty as well. A couple other great performances.
The focus was on Surya, and he was the guy playing him, John. You're absolutely right. We were talking about Sarkar before we come on, and we were talking about, I think we may have gave that a D rating at the time, and the only reason it got that as high
because of Thalapathi.
Because of Thalapathi, because he carried that movie himself. This is slightly different, John. You're absolutely right. I think the likes of Mammootty in here, Arvind Swamy as well. I hope I'm saying his name right. You never know. I'm not going to say I know they're big name stars, but for me they've got that kind of big name presence in the film because of their performances. But you're absolutely right. I think Rajinikanth in this movie, you talk about standout performances, I'll be very short and sweet here. I've got two moments that I really loved in this film, and they were both emotional moments. The one with Surya and Surya's natural mother's husband, the stepfather, I'll call him.
He was great, by the way, that guy.
He was a very pleasant chap, a really likeable guy, honourable as well. And I loved that scene between those two, and obviously the scene between Surya and his mother, his natural mother. Because he was so adamant. I don't know if you got the same translation as I did, with the version I watched. He was adamant that he wasn't going to regard her as his mother. His real mother was the woman that took him out of the river. But once he met her, all that changed. And Rajinikanth's performance in that scene was really emotional for me. You could see him tearing up. And we've only ever seen him in another film, for anyone that's not watched our show, and that was in Peta. And he was such a different character, and that was charismatic and had a swagger. And this, he shows levels of vulnerability, and I like that in a character. And that's down to that's down to fantastic. Just those are my two standout moments.
Jai Sankar's Arjun's dad, by the way. He hasn't even got a photograph on IMDb. Cool guy. Love the pencil moustache, love the glasses, love the haircut. That moment you spoke about, Stephen, between those two was really cool. He says, look, I know, what if your mother came back, would that take you away from this world of crime? And he's like, what do you mean? What if I told you she was in this town? That conversation, again, the back and forth, the Rajinikanth, amazing. Ruth, if you get any standout moments though, as an aside to what we've mentioned, also
I mean, I love all the moments you were talking about as well, because those were all like standout scenes. His interaction with the father, and and also his interaction with the mother, especially the part where he connects and then he lies down on her lap, and he's like And just so it's such
See the
and the
little moment as
yearning
well,
with
Ruth,
which
sorry.
he watches her from afar,
Yeah,
like in the temple
yeah.
when she's
That's I was about to
praying,
say that.
and that scene where both of them turn around and the pillar is separating both of them, but both of them turn around and look at the train
Yeah,
when they hear the sound of the train, and
Yeah.
her yearning and his the son and the father just watching
yeah,
both of them at the
yeah,
same time. He realizes like how much it's affected both of them equally.
Yeah.
He's realizing that not only his wife, who has been watching all these years going through the pain and suffering, he sees that Surya has also probably been carrying it his entire life as
yeah.
well.
I think you've
You
seen that
know?
when he's in the lineup and he's telling
Yeah.
his story. He finally breaks down and says, "Look, my mother discarded me. I was like trash. I had no mother." And I think he realizes this is the guy that she's been speaking about. She's been mourning for her entire life. He has that moment. There's another moment when he picks up petals. I think his mother had been holding petals, and I think he goes and picks them up. I'm sure it's. I may have missed that. I may have misinterpreted it. But it's like that's the connection with his mother. This is the first time he's had to really touch something that's been near her. The sort of bond. There's little moments. And look, the score.
It's the flower. It's actually the flower from her hair.
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
little flower
Yeah.
from her hair, that they wear the flowers in
It's
their
like
hair.
that connection, isn't
It
it?
actually fell down. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got this sort of bond. This is the first time he's had sort of a tentative, real, I don't know, living thing. It's been close to his mother. But it's the score as well, man. We'll get into technical, I'm sure. But I had my issues with the score early on in this movie, but I thought it developed brilliantly. The song at the very start, it's like da 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 da. They bring that into the end when he's having these moments with his mother, and the sort of score it
It's
roused.
like a lullaby. Yeah. It's like a little lullaby that's carried out throughout.
And it
the
sort
whole,
of comes back at the end, and it's got a real emotional impact, man, when he's having the sort of re-establishing a relationship. They use that part very well. I thought that was brilliant. And again, it's sort of playing into that sequence. But see the end moment as well, that was another standout for me. There was a split perspective thing going on. It was like two come to Jesus moments. The mother reveals to Arjun that Surya is her son, please don't kill him. And then in the other location, you've got obviously Surya and Devaraj having their moments as well. And he says to him, look, I can't kill him. He's my brother. I love the sort of split perspective things when they do that in movies. And I thought it showed you these strange bedfellows, if you like, to quote Lemmy, coming together.
That you guys, you might mention the loyalty earlier, right? That it being a theme, and if you look at it, it is predominantly the theme, the loyalty part of it, because it's like it's the loyalty between the friends. It's the loyalty that the mom and has for her son. It's the loyalty that the son has for his mother. That he wants to protect the brother, even though they were at each other's throats in the beginning, and then the moment Arjun finds out that that's his brother, that the loyalty just steps in. That kind of thing.
See
and
that moment on the stairs as well.
Yeah.
Where he says to him, "What if I was your elder brother?
Exactly. Yeah.
You're a good man. Just please go. I don't want anything to happen." I think he says to him, "If you were my elder brother, your mother would have discarded you or something like that. She'd have got rid of you." He's like, "You're right," and they walk away. I thought that was a brilliant moment as well.
A brilliant moment, because that's exactly what happened.
She discarded him.
It's so poignant.
It's
so poignant for him.
Basically stabbed him in the heart in that moment. He's like, "You bitch, you got me there."
And also, there's also loyalty between, a loyalty between the girl, what do you call that, Subbalakshmi and her father as well, because
he's
the sole
everything.
reason why she didn't want to, because she's loyal to her father for bringing her up. So therefore, she's she doesn't want to fight him when he's so against her marrying. And as much as it hurts her, she's loyal to that relationship as the daughter. So I mean, it's there throughout the whole thing, and it's interesting. I also like the dynamic between the little girl and him as well. Every time he tells her a story or he's feeding her, he's like he's being for her, I think, everything that he wished his mother had been there for him. So he treats her like with this kind of very gentle, nice approach, which was a bit different from this strong man that goes and fights everybody and
Yeah.
all that, and then he's so, like storytelling, softness,
Yeah.
that kind of thing with the little girl. So I like that a lot.
That shows depth to the character as
Yeah.
well. That he's a sort of got a tough outer shell and a softness
Yeah.
within, if you like. Go on to technical stuff now, I'd have thought. Then
Yeah.
we'll get into performances. We usually do it the other way about, actually. We'll do performances. Look, man, this is easy for me. Look, there's a couple of great performances. Arvind Swamy as Arjun was pretty decent.
Yeah.
Shibani as Subbalakshmi, I think it was. Is that how you say that name? Is pretty decent. Mammootty as Devaraj, I liked him.
Yeah.
There's a couple in there, man. The
Yeah.
mother as well. I'm not actually sure which one's the mother.
I think it's Sravija.
Sravida.
Yeah.
Srivitya.
Sravija
Yeah.
as Kalyani. Brilliant, as I says, that moment when
Yeah.
they're sort of having that
Mhm.
embrace before the shit hits the fan at the end. But the Jenny Camp, man.
Yeah.
The Jenny Camp was 41 here. I think maybe 40 when he shot it. The guy's knocking on 71, 72 now. 30 years ago. My lifetime,
Yeah.
pretty much. And he's just unbelievable in this movie. The movie, as I says before, is really carried by him. It has to be. It's all about him. He's at the centre of everything.
Mm-hmm.
He's the sort of connective tissue to the good and the bad. All of the madness and the good things that happen in this movie are linked to Surya. And it's a performance, it's nuanced. There's emotive moments. There's rage when he's going out and killing people. Cold blood. It's everything. I mean,
Yeah.
he goes from mourning the loss of his great friend Devaraj in one scene. Next moment, he's beating the shit out of the guy who's responsible, slapping him about, shooting him in the head.
Yeah.
And I like that scene, by the way, when he slowly raises the gun up and his head's sort of unshot. This little bald bitch that was responsible, I don't know what his name was, incidentally. So for me, it's Rajinikanth's the absolute standout
Yeah,
performance
I
by
think
a
so as well.
country mile.
Yeah, I think so as well, John. I think Rajinikanth, like you said, carried the movie. I think for any film that's got a lot happening in it, they have to have a main character that has a lot happening within him as well. And I think he managed to carry that off perfectly. I think the complexities to the character takes a very special individual to I'm struggling here with this drink. Individual to obviously carry off.
Steve,
And
you
I
ain't seen
think
nothing yet, mate. Wait
Yeah,
till I introduce the cider on top of the beer.
car crash TV, but
It's coming.
for me, John, it was so intriguing from start to finish. I was so in awe of this guy's talents. As I said, we've only seen Pet up to now, John and I, and seeing him in this role, for me, was just spellbinding at times. Just to see his range of emotions, his range of acting throughout this movie. He had everything, and he carried it off so well.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
Ruth?
you would get that a lot more in the older Rajnikant movies, where his dramatic performances, were majority of this one, and then as it went along, he became this kind of mass hero. So he can do both. So you can see hints of it in in the latest ones, but you don't get. This is essentially how this was like in his heyday, all the kinds
Yeah.
of movies, there would be that emotional pull. His movies always centered around respect for mother,
Yeah.
those kind of things. So, in that sense, you have that a lot. Like for me, Surya definitely the standout performance in all of it. I also felt that standout performance was Srividya, who played the mother. She was she was really good. She's been acting for many years as well. She actually, like older movies, she used to be the heroine, in earlier like Rajnikant movies and that kind of stuff. And then now she's playing the mother. But yeah, she's a very good actress.
Yeah, sadly
And also,
passed
I
away.
think
Yeah,
I'm not. Did she?
yeah, 53. She died.
She? Yeah.
Yeah,
Did she die that year?
yeah.
Jesus Christ.
2006. Yeah,
That's
Sad,
I
unbelievable.
yeah.
wasn't very sure about that. Yeah. So the thing is that the also, yeah, I think for this movie they received like Filmfare awards and for best director, best music director, and I think there was another, like several awards. There was another award where Rajnikant got for best actor and she got for Best Actress,
Wow.
Character actress in the movie. And
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can
So,
see why.
you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I like the fact that Maniratnam likes to write strong women. If you watch, if you keep watching like some of his other movies as well, he always has strong women. Even if when they are restricted and restrained by societal norms, they are still strong women nonetheless. In their given space. So I liked all of that. My only main gripe is that the antagonist, the actor that plays the antagonist, the Amrish Puri, he's the same guy who's the villain in Temple of Doom.
Oh, really?
Oh wow.
Oh, right, there you
It's
go.
him. It's Amrish Puri, yeah.
Ah,
But he plays a very different,
Wow.
subdued
That's
kind
a deep
of
cut there,
role
Ruth, man.
here.
you do well in movie
Excellent.
trivia, I'm telling you, man. That's unreal.
Yeah.
That is absolutely unbelievable. What a bit of trivia
Yeah,
that
I
is.
can see him now. It's,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Amrish Puri. Yeah.
Eyes are amazing, yeah. I was only very disappointed that they kind of toned down his role so much that didn't seem like a very strong antagonist in the film. I think he would have made a better film if the antagonist had been strong and Amrish Puri was maybe allowed to flex his thespian muscles a bit more and given more screen time.
He wasn't in it a huge
than
amount,
he
was he?
was.
He flitted in and out, really.
Yeah, he wasn't. Yeah, exactly. I'm
Yeah.
not sure why that was the case. Maybe they couldn't get, because he's a Hindi movie actor, so
Yeah.
maybe they couldn't schedule, more scenes with him or what. Maybe that was the real reason.
I'm telling
But
you.
I don't know. Yeah, but I feel that he should have been given a bit more stronger, because Amrish Puri is a very scary villain. He's just, his eyes alone
Yeah.
can speak volumes, and he's one of those really iconic. Yeah, I think there are very few villains I know of that really put the fear of God in me, kind of thing. And he's one of those that can really frighten you because he's got that look. And he has that look in Temple of Doom as well, that kind of like almost crazed, bizarre, and he's
Possessed,
like that in
yeah.
a lot of his, yeah, exactly, the kind of possessed,
I've got the crazy eyes as
well.
well.
Really good, yeah. I wish that had been there was a strong antagonist, especially since they made Devaraj and him, best friends later.
Yeah.
They needed to counterbalance that
Yeah.
with somebody on the opposite side that was stronger.
Listen, that's
So
a
I
good
think
shout,
in
by the
that
way.
sense, yeah.
As a criticism
Yeah,
for this
they-
movie, that's actually a great shout.
Yeah.
There is actually a real dearth of villainry
Yeah.
in this movie. I thought Devaraj, I actually had my notes at the start of the movie. Looks to me like they're setting up Devaraj v Surya. He's going to be the permanent sort of pain in the
Yeah,
arse.
there was more tension between them than there was between the real antagonists.
I think, the real
Yeah.
antagonist was more of a thorn in the side of Devaraj. He
Yeah.
was constantly trying to get him killed.
Yeah.
And he
Exactly,
probably
yeah.
seen Surya. Actually, I think he tried to get Surya to join with him at one point. And he probably seen Surya as a pawn in the game. He could maybe get him onto his side. He wasn't a real threat to Surya. And as I says, I thought Surya was the heart and soul of the movie. So, I mean, Devaraj was a side character, a sort of a brother-like figure to Surya. That's the one thing I would say that was missing for this movie, was now that you actually mention it. And look, the movie didn't need it for me. It was, again, it was about Surya, his relationship, finding his mother, this
Yeah,
brotherhood,
exactly,
finding a
yeah.
family in unlikely sources. It didn't really need a villain, but if you had a sort of villainous force breathing down his neck,
Yeah, it would have been
It would have been-
a bit more. Yeah, they could have kind of skipped a bit on that. It would have been a better movie,
Yeah.
much more better.
but now we've covered performances, technical. What I tell you, I says I had issues with technical aspects in this movie. It's more visual than anything else, because obviously the budget, and look, as you said, Ruth, before we come on, I wasn't privy to this information. There's actually issues with the restoring of this movie. There's versions of this movie that have been restored fully, and
Yeah,
they're
true,
obviously
yeah.
better edited, they're better visually. And you says the version that perhaps me and Stephen maybe Stephen more than me, wasn't visually as refined as maybe what it should be. They've not maybe had the desire to take this movie and give it a new lick of paint, if you'd like. But for me, I thought, despite that, the choreography and the fighting, absolutely. You mentioned it wasn't hugely choreographed for you, Stephen, but for me, what was there? It was slick. I thought they captured the stuff very well. The cinematographer, Santosh Sivan, I thought he did a great job. We speak about the emotive moments in this movie, the performances from the Ginnikamp.
Yeah,
If you've not got a great
sunset,
cinematographer, Stephen,
Yeah.
capturing that,
Yeah, that's it.
you're losing all of that nuance of the performance. So Santosh Sivan did a great job. The score, I had a love-hate relationship with this score. The first hour or so, I'm like, I don't like this score. It's just short little moments that it'll do, and then it's gone. I'm like, what's this? And then as it grew into the second half of the movie, it get more and more like a traditional Western sort of movie. It was lingering, it was building on the emotion. So I'll give him slight plus marks just for what he did with that end sequence with the mother.
You can see the score ran parallel with the story, though. There was moments where you were getting to see sort of the more human side of the main character, and I think that's where the score sort of runs parallel, where you're getting those glimpses, and the score's like that. You're getting little glimpses of the score throughout the very beginning of the film, but as the emotions start to open up in the film, so does the score.
Stephen, I tell you what, you says that there. Yeah. I've just had a eureka moment.
I think that was the idea of the score, is that it, like you were saying, that it opens up as more is being revealed. But before that, you just have a hint.
Yeah,
I think I've got a reason for that, though. I've just had an explanation for that there, and I'm now convinced that's what the filmmakers and the composer were doing. He's a closed shop.
Yeah,
He's not got any real emotional connection at the start of the movie.
This has altered John's rating.
He's within himself. He's within himself. And he's a sort of closed shop. He's disenfranchised with the world. The score's not really busting out. It's sort of introspective. As he starts opening up and finding his family, the score starts swelling. There's my connection. That's my explanation for it now. There you go, Stephen.
The music was done by Ilayaraja, who's like known as a maestro, and he's like a legendary music director.
You knew what he was doing then. There you go.
And also the song that they had where they are dancing around the campfire.
1,000 projects this guy's worked on.
Yeah, at the temple, and then the women come in and pray, and that's the first time he sees her. And so that's that entire song sequence. Interestingly, the choreography for that dance sequence was actually choreographed both by Prabhudeva's father Mugur Sundar and what do you call that, Prabhudeva as well.
Oh, Prabhu! Prabhu's got his fingertips on it.
Yeah.
Listen, Prabhu's my new favourite.
Prabhu's father, Prabhu's dad and Prabhu, both of them joined together to choreograph the dance sequence for that one.
By the way, we've not even spoke about song and dance numbers, by the way. I had a whole section for that. I've got a bone to pick with the Ginny Camp, and I'll let him away with it because he's such a talented actor. And I says in my notes, this may be controversial. He's not a great dancer. He's not a good dancer. He is limited.
He always struggles with the dancing.
But what I says,
said that so many times before.
This isn't the controversial part, though. My controversial part may upset people in our community when I say that he may be an inferior dancer to like Allu Arjun, Prabhudeva, Thalapathi, NTR Jr., but he's a much better actor than all of them. So he excels. He's a master of the acting. He's not spreading himself out. To quote the Lord of the Rings, like butter across bread.
He's almost afraid to do dance sequence and all that, but he's like perfected that kind of hip movement that kind of works for him.
He has, I noticed the same dance in Peter. 30 years later, he's still doing that dance, his sort of dance. And I enjoyed him in Peter, but I put it down to his age. But nope. He was 41. He was in his prime.
That isn't one of his strong suits.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Listen, I liked the songs though. I said the first one wouldn't be out of place at an Andre Rieu concert. It was quite string heavy. It was clarinets going on and stuff like that. Drum parts. Actually, I mentioned Prabhudev. I didn't realise he was involved in this. I says the drum part wouldn't feel out of place in Sergeant Peter, Stephen. It was like within you, without you. Boom, 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 boom.
I agree.
I love the drumming. The ending drums, by the way, incredible. I didn't mind the dance numbers. I thought they were all right. Pretty decent. Yeah, some decent singing in there as well.
I liked all the sunset and sunrise moments. And did you catch I'm not sure, you probably missed it, but did you catch the fact that when Subbalakshmi sits by the water and she's playing with the veena, the song? Yeah. That's the song that's in 96 where he keeps asking her to sing that song, right? And
I remember you saying that,
where it's unrequited. I mean,
and she refused to sing it.
And that was exactly the same thing. They didn't get the guy, and that was the song.
Yep. Oh, yeah, I mind you saying that. There was connotations. She couldn't get with that girl, and she couldn't get with him. I see it now.
Yep.
See, that's the type of things that go over your head when you watch movies, and as you start to bulge your knowledge and watch more and more, it adds something.
Yeah.
When you start seeing movies, you're like, I
It's
see
like
what they're doing there.
multiverse, yeah.
That's very cool. Look, man, editing, final thing I'll talk about.
Let's
Stephen's
talk
got
about
issues
that.
with editing. I
Yeah.
think Stephen watched a different version.
Yeah, do you know, I was coming in here all guns blazing, and when I was talking to you guys before we came online, I felt, you know, I've got to sort of cut them some slack here, because I just thought it was for the age, 1991, 30 years ago, budget and stuff like that. And then I thought to myself, I was arguing with my own head when I was watching the film as well. I do that a lot when I'm watching films, and I think, no, I can't let you away with that, because I've seen films from the 1940s that are edited beautifully, and they don't have a budget.
Yeah.
But for the version I was watching, there was some really rough cuts. I can only speak for myself, because obviously I did sit down with you guys and watch the film at the same time. There was a moment in the film during the riot scenes where there was 4 things happening in the space of a minute, and I just thought, well, you know, it was one of those blink and you miss it, and I was like, well, sit down, just calm down, guys, you know, just let's tell the story here.
Partridge,
you know.
Calm down.
There was that moment, and there was a moment where he was feeding the little girl, and there was a jump cut, and it looked like it was on a loop. It looked like
I've definitely seen that.
They've just repeated the scene. It was like the sand people in Star Wars, where they just rolled it back and forth. And I didn't like that. But there was other moments as well that I just thought some of it was abruptly jumping to the next scene. And there was moments that were emotional that I felt, I want them to stay just that little bit longer in this moment because it's beautiful. And then they would jump into some riot scene or something like that right after it. I went, oh, well, okay. Wow, we're here now, right? Okay, that's what you're doing. But I have to put that down to the version I was watching, because for anyone who didn't see us at the start of this review, welcome on in, but we were talking about the hardship of trying to find a version of this here in the UK. Ruth gave us some great links to see the film in really good condition, but they didn't have the English subtitles. So John managed to find a version. What was the name of the version, John?
I watched in Prime.
What was the title though? What was it called again?
Thalapathi,
yeah. And
I watched
you watched it in Prime. I watched it on YouTube, and I think the one I watched on YouTube might have been cut to avoid being kicked off.
It might have been cut to avoid copyright.
Because John, there was a scene that I was confused about the marriage thing, and I think they've cut out the explanation why he didn't get married, and I was totally bamboozled. I was like, John, I don't understand this film, and maybe it's I'm not used to Indian customs, maybe he's allowed to have another wife, I don't know. Like, you know, I was getting really confused. I went, he's really let this slip. He's not even bothered about it. But I think they cut that moment out for me, and it baffled me,
because that's why the moments when the father doesn't allow him to marry.
It stuck in my head for the whole entire film. I was like, I still don't understand how that happened. But horses for courses.
No, I think it was your version, Stephen, because mine was fine.
Mine is so. No, I think see. You need to forgive some of the fact that the film somehow I think wasn't preserved really well. So there's a lot of problems with the quality of the film that is out there for everyone to watch. You know, I mean, there are some versions that don't have the subtitles. Like if you were to get the DVD of it and all that, it would be a little bit better. But I'm trying to compare it with when I first saw the movie in theater.
Oh, you seen it in theaters, Ruth?
You are right.
Wow.
But you are right in the fact that even if just say it was in the mint quality condition that it came out in the theater, I did have issues. I remember at that time when I watched it with the jump cuts, with some of the scenes, like not staying too long in a particular scene and then just kind of, you know, cutting into the next and suddenly it turning to something else. That was, I think, also like apparent in the movie, in the like when I saw it when it first came out. You know, so I think I had issues with that as well. You know, some of the editing was a bit cut, not to perfection in my view. You know, but the quality overall, you know, that was because of the fact that it's deteriorated over the years, and for some reason, I think, which is a waste, I think they should go back and try to restore the film or do something about it, you know, or maybe it's just that the copy that we all are getting online is not the best.
You know, but for me, the editing in the main for it flowed pretty well for a 2.5 hour movie. And look, they were trying to balance a lot of things going on here. You had this sort of gangster brotherhood relationship, you had violence spilling out, they had to deal with it. You're setting up what he was doing to make a living, the life he was living, this sort of darkness, the grittiness, the crime. Then you had the mother stuff going on, the romantic stuff going on, the half-brother coming in and trying to clean it up. The dodginess, the tangling of these families that don't know their family, try to wipe each other out. Yeah. There was a lot going on there. It was a juggling act, and I thought, in the main,
sometimes you've got to. Pretty decent. Sometimes you've got to look at the bigger picture. Yeah, and that's what I did, John. You heard how brutal I was on Tuesday night with this film in terms of editing, but I slept on it. Then I sent you a message the next day and said, you know something, I'll not give my rating away.
I was surprised.
I was about to give my rating away there.
I was surprised though. I was like, Stephen, this is rated, and then he rated it. I'm like, wow.
I'm just thinking back to Reginican's performance in this film, and I thought, it's an injustice to give this film anything less than a such and such, which we'll reveal shortly. And I thought this is one of the best performances I've seen in Indian cinema from what we've seen. In fact, I would go too far to say that Rajinikanth is probably the best actor I've seen, in my opinion, so far.
Oh yes, he's incredible. I liked him from the moment I seen him in Peter. There was something about him, just something about his smile.
People tend to forget. People tend to forget even till to date, because he's gone the route of the mass hero and everything. People sometimes tend to forget that that's how he started. He was a dramatic actor for a good many years, and there are a lot of movies that really showed his acting talent, and different styles of acting. That he always had a bit of that swag and that kind of thing, but he always had very dramatic performances that he, so you could call him a thespian for the most part. It's just that the route that took, because of how famous he got, eventually, he became this kind of mass hero, and it was all about the style and the swag. That
when did the whistling come in, Ruth?
The actor.
He started. He seems to have developed this trademark for whistling tunes, because we heard it in the sort of motion poster for his up and coming release. When did that happen? Because in this, he's a straight drama. He's a very drama driven actor in this.
I think when actors get to a certain...
You pick up these little things, don't you?
When they get to a certain stage in their career, they have to rely more on their charisma. Because they can't do the things they did 30, 40 years ago physically. They can't do the sort of action that perhaps a lot of people grew up with. I can relate to that with likes of Arnold Schwarzenegger or someone like that, who was an all-out action star in the 70s, 80s and 90s. And as he got older, I think he learned... Well, he did comedy as well, but I think he learned to be more charismatic on screen as well, because he knew that he couldn't do the things he did when he was younger.
I'm going to let my dog out 2 seconds. If you just want to keep talking, my dog's wanting out 2 seconds.
You might have noticed there wasn't a show last night, and this was down to Harley, John's dog. He actually had a tummy upset, so John had to babysit him for that night last night, because he didn't want any accidents happening during the live show or anything like that. And I think he's predominantly more concerned about his pet rather than the show, so that's why we didn't do a show last night. But hopefully he's okay. Hopefully he's not going to make too much of a mess out there, John.
I'm hoping not. No, Stephen. I've just had to let him out. He's a stomach issue. Yes, the joys of having dogs, if you like. And I think that's a testament to my fitness here, that I'm not even that out of breath after what I've just did there. Pretty fit boy. But Chester, overall thoughts and rating, but at that stage.
Okay.
Who wants to go first? Shall I go first?
I'll go first if you want.
There you go, Stephen.
I was just thinking about something there, but my overall thoughts on this film is that you've got to look past production and look at performances, and that's what I did. It took me a long time to get there, because I was sitting there thinking, wow, this movie and its editing is really starting to grind on me, and it's a hard watch. But once you sit down, you watch it, you understand the story and you absorb the story, and then you appreciate the performances from the actors. You really do appreciate the storytelling in this film and the development of the characters throughout. It's such an intriguing story, complex, as you said, Ruth. I think the relationships was a big part to play in this, loyalty as well. It had everything. Rajinikanth's performance in this was outstanding. He carried the movie so well. Range of emotions in there. Some of the standout moments were emotional for me as well. I got it. They could have maybe lingered on a little bit more with the emotional scenes. I didn't think there was enough time But John did make a good point. They were juggling a lot during the film, so granted, you've got to cut them some slack on that performance. But it's a film that I would like to go back to. But you talk about restoration, Ruth, and I think that is the only route for this film. I would hate this film to be remade with different actors.
Yes,
I would hate it
definitely.
because Rajinikanth is the telepathy,
Yes, he is
and
exactly.
I can't see anyone else playing that role. I don't want to see a remake of it. So restoration is the only way to really, bring this to the masses in the Western world as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Stephen, how are you rating it?
I'm giving it a C.
A C.
A straight C, yeah.
I've changed my mind during this review, by the way.
Hey.
As ever.
It was the score, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a eureka moment, and I realised this guy's done 1,000 bucks, so I know that he knows what he's doing. I know that it isn't just a budding composer doing things on the fly. There's a madness, a method to the madness in what he's doing with the score. Shall I go next, Ruth, or do you want to go? Because I'm going to reveal my rating, and I don't want to. Influence anybody.
Go for it.
I'll let you go first, Ruth.
I don't mind going next. Yeah, okay. For me, I thought I loved the human story in the entire movie. It was beautifully written. I told you that I loved the idea of the interwoven love stories that were happening in between. It's like a full-fledged love letter. A child to a mother to a child, between two friends. Between a man and a woman, and where it works out. And I like the idea that it ended with a kind of a theme of hope, that you could almost see that his life was going to change and be better, with his mom by his side. Like everything that was lost to him was restored back. And then there's that hope that his relationship with his wife also would actually grow to a stronger state, because you can see how like the subtle moments where she tries to like she watches him and everything, that she's starting to admire him and kind of like maybe in a way fall in love with him, because her relationship with her husband, when she was married to him, it wasn't like, it wasn't great. She did say that he did take care of her, but he wasn't a really good man and that kind of thing. And she can see his goodness, that she's observing him and all that. So it kind of gives you hope that it will transition to a better place. Also considering now that his mother is in the picture as well, she probably do something to kind of like tie in the whole family together. And everything.
I think he became a good man. I do.
Yeah,
exactly. So it had that level of hope. I liked the writing. I actually love the music. Ilaiyaraaja's music is like I really like his music. And I liked everything. My only major gripe was some of the editing, the jump cuts that were there, and the fact that it didn't have a strong enough antagonist. I think Amish Puri should have been given a bit more screen time, a bit more stronger, like allowed to show some of his normal acting style that he normally puts in. So other than all of those things, I thought it was it's a very good watch. It's a very good movie. Depending on whichever, even though it was done like 30 years ago, I still feel that it's all those things that you can connect to even till today, because it's a human story at heart of it. And so I would give this a C+, because I think it's a really good watch. I'd go back and watch it again. Yeah.
That may have changed my rating again there. It might not have, though. We'll find out as I round the actual movie up after having drank a pint of lager and half a pint of cider. If there's a god up there, please look out for me. Look, I enjoyed this movie. I did. I've had one brush with Rajinikanth before this, and Peta, completely different movie. Yeah, the sort of Rajinikanth hero worshipping director finally getting to work with his hero. Half the movie was just a homage to him, and then the second half was like him doing stuff and using Rajinikanth as an actual actor, which is probably what you should do in the whole movie. This was the second brush. This is probably would you say this is his prime? Or is there a prime before this, Ruth? I don't know. But it's younger. It's a younger version of Rajinikanth. And he's different, and he's more drama driven. He's not whistling. There's none of that. It's just raw emotion. He's this guy that's been abandoned as a kid. He's got this discontentment, if you like, if that's even disenfranchised. I don't know. I don't know what you discontent. We'll go with discontent for how his life's unfolded. He's wanting a mother, but he doesn't want a mother. He's found family in an unlikely place. He's found this brother from another mother who's a gangster, who's using him but also loves him. It's complex. I liked the story. I thought it was juggling lots of different things. But for me, it's all about Rajinikanth and his performance as Surya. And I thought he was outstanding. For me, I tell you, this could be, as an aside to maybe Amir Khan and Dangal, who I really enjoyed as well, incidentally. And look, Thalapathi and Master, Vijay Sethupathi in 96, it's up there, man. It's probably in fact, it's better. It's the best performance I've seen. It's the best performance I've seen in an Indian movie today. It was a stunning performance. He imbued the performance with all of the Stephen's looking at
6.8%, folks.
Listen, I'm being serious. I thought he imbued the performance with that rawness, that sort of anger at how his life had went. He looks at Arjun and he sees this sort of this good guy that's in the right side of law, who's had this perfect little upbringing. He's educated, and he almost is bitter against him for it. But look, there's the dog coming in again. He's emptied his stomach clearly. For me, look, I'm just going to get to it. I'm giving this movie, I'm going to give it a C+ as well. I
thought you were going to go higher, John.
I was going to give it a B-. I was going to give it a B-. I was so close. But Ruth gave it a C+. I'm like, shit, I can't. I was hoping Ruth would go with a B or something, then I could go B-. But if Ruth's giving it a C+, you're giving it a C.
I would have, but because of the fact that, the editing parts of it, the jump cuts and stuff, and the fact that it didn't have a strong antagonist. So that was my only issue. And that if it had those things, then I probably would have gone up to a B. But a C+ is pretty good, I think, because it's a really good movie, and...
listen, just for me, as I says, it was all about Surya, however you say the name, even though I'm not sure. I think it's Surya. Surya. But I think they were... listen, I always get the pronunciations miles out. I listen to the actors saying it, and it's like, what? That's not how I visualised that being pronounced. My dog's wanting a clap. So for me, it was all about that character. It was all about Rajinikanth. The whole story was about him. It's called Thalapathi. That's obviously his moniker in the movie. It's the journey he goes on, re-establishing a connection with his mother, how that brings him into the light, if you like. It's a come to Jesus moment. Having family, not being on his own, his only family's this gangster sort of figure. That was what the whole movie was about. So for me, it didn't really need a villain. It was all about Rajinikanth. And he delivers. And look, if you're basing it purely on his performance, I'd probably give it an A. Because his performance was absolutely superb. He's what brings it up to a C+. I have issues with technical stuff. I have issues with visual elements. And I can be really nitpicky and vote it down. But we spoke about it last week. And probably the final thing I'll say is that ultimately, I don't really care about low budget. I don't care about regional movies, as we've seen in the comments in the last week or so, not being the real deal, inverted commas. All I care about is performances and the story. That's what I go for. I'm a big fan of the original Star Trek. It didn't have big money. It didn't have big fancy sets. It didn't have fancy visuals. It was all about story and characters and acting. And I enjoyed that. So I enjoyed this. So, in other words, we're not going to hunting bitches. We want to follow these actors we've discovered throughout their career, all the way back, see how they've evolved. I don't care about just jumping on the modern day movies and try to get views. That's not what it's about for us. It's about discovering the industries, the actors, the performances going way back. I don't give a shit. And if they're good or bad, we'll review them. Doesn't matter. Yeah. But if you've got anything else to say, because I'm gibbering, we'll try to keep us under 40 minutes. I bet we haven't.
No, we've not. Over an hour again.
One of these days, man. One of these days. You can shorten it, Stephen.
Yeah, that's what we do.
You can go out at some point. It's absolutely fine.
Accommodate,
Me leaving to go and take my dog down for the toilet. You can cut that out. Jesus Christ, that must have been about 10 minutes. But anyway, that's going to round up our review of Thalapathi, the Rajinikanth movie from 1991, when I was but 2 years old. Those were the halcyon days indeed for me. It's all been downhill since then. I've got older, I've got uglier, I've got less hair. But I digress, it's nothing to do with me. It's all about Thalapathi and Rajinikanth. What is your thoughts on the movie? What's your thoughts on the performance from Rajinikanth? What's your thoughts on the performances, period, technical stuff, story, our review? If you've got anything to say and you feel compelled to share it, you can comment down below and share your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thank you very much to the people who have come in, incidentally, if it's plural. If it's just one person, I think there's been a couple.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming in and commenting. We do appreciate you coming in, sharing your thoughts. Stephen's been dealing with that. I can't see it. I've got the eyesight of a 71-year-old ran Ginny Camps just now, and I'm 32. I'm 32.
So is he in the film.
We never spoke about that.
Yeah.
We never spoke about that. Regina Cam Surya was not 32 in that movie. He was lying about his age. He was 40 when he shot it. He wasn't 32. I'm 32. I've seen 32-year-olds that look like bums though. Aged horrifically. Bums from LA. But I digress, man. You can comment below if you've got anything to say. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel and hit the follow button over on Twitch if you want to see more content like this in the future, and you will get it. Me and Stephen will be back for movie news next week. We'll be back with a Danush review next Friday. We don't know what it is yet because it's neck and neck. Thank you very much to the people voting on the poll. We like to see that bit of, I don't know, interaction. Actually try to get us to watch stuff. We appreciate it. But look, until then, we're done. Bye bye. Ruth's done, I'm done, Stephen's done. Catches. Bye bye.